Welcome to another segment of 11 Bravo. This is Rick Seaman, and as always, we're all about the combat veterans. I've been fortunate to have Mr. Lynn Mattocks return for another show. Lynn, thanks for coming back.
Thank you, Rick.
And we decided we have a lot to talk about. I mean, we might do 3 shows with Lynn. I don't know. I'm not giving anything away yet, but we'll see how it goes. Lynn, you know, we were talking about your love for horses and being an equestrian, and you know, you were a rodeo cowboy, rodeo rider for some time, and you're still very active in that. You mentioned that when you went to enlist in the Marines, you had a little problem there. Tell us about that.
Well, I graduated from high school in '52, and I went down with my buddies, joined the Marine Corps, and they all got taken in, and the recruiter looked at me and said, "Go home, boy." I was only 5'3" tall at the time and weighed 114 pounds. But of course, I was jockeying on the racetrack then and starting to ride rodeos, and I wanted to keep my weight down.
Yeah.
And so finally, 4 years later, almost 4 years later, the recruiter, he inched my weight up a little bit, and he made me grow a half-inch taller on paper, and
right.
I got in.
Okay, so from jockey to Marine.
That's right.
There you go. All right. So when we left off, we talked about your entry into the counterintelligence field in the Marine Corps. And that was around 62, 63.
63. Graduated October 63.
Right. We know Vietnam's going on. And when did you actually first set foot in Vietnam?
July 1964.
July 1964.
Right.
Okay. What was the occasion? Tell me what you first saw, what you were doing.
Okay. Well, let me back up slightly. I was
Okay.
with the 3rd Marine. With the 3rd Marine Division, the third Counterintelligence Team. They formed the 9th Marine Expeditionary Brigade with General Ray Davis as the commanding general. I was assigned there as a counterintelligence. And our first operation was actually in Mindoro Island of the Philippines against the Muslim insurgents that we call them today. We called them guerrillas then.
These wouldn't be the same people that we're talking about today in the Middle East?
Same people, just generations later. You know, these people have been doing this for years and years, not only in the Philippines, but all around the world.
Right.
And so after 9/11, it just became the big balloon burst, and
right.
Now we're in it knee deep, you know.
So you met those folks in 1964 in the Philippines.
That's right.
You're a piece of history, Lynn, let me tell you.
You know, the thing though, Rick, is what really came out of that operation. We hit Newsweek. It was the fact that part of the forces over there brought out the last 2 known remaining Japanese soldiers from World War II on Mindoro Island.
Wow.
And
that was just kind of like after the fact.
Right. It was just they didn't know the war was over, so to speak.
Amazing. Wow. We're hearing it, folks. Pretty amazing stories, and there's a lot more to follow. We're going to take a quick break. 11 Bravo will be right back with Lynn Mattocks. We're back, 11 Bravo. Lynn Mattocks. So now you're back on the ship, right?
Right. Immediately after arriving in Tonkin Gulf, General Davis gave Lieutenant Myers a Beg and myself secret orders, and we choppered into Vietnam, and that was July of '64, and we had a mission there, and that was when we did I couldn't hardly believe it, counterintelligence people, we did a road and bridge study all the way from Da Nang to the DMZ.
Really?
And then we did a beach study on the surf and for landing sites. And we also did the sounding of the Quabiet and the Perfume River. And it was very interesting because we had the latest equipment. We had a rope with every 10 feet had a red mark on it and a weight on it, and we dropped it down and zigzagged down the river. That's how we sounded the river so Navy boats could get down there, you know.
So you were like you say, an expeditionary force. You were kind of going in there and sniffing the situation out. I mean, there were a few Marine elements in Vietnam prior to that. We had some advisors. What were they working with?
Well, we had the advisors in there for the Vietnamese Marines, and also we had the helicopter people in there teaching the Vietnamese to fly the helicopters. We had Marine counterintelligence assigned to the Naval Intelligence units there. That was some of the people that we did liaison with, Lieutenant Begg and I.
Right.
And we also met with the different MACV units and collecting the intelligence. We was able to get interpreters and go out and meet with some of the local district chiefs and those people to get an overview of the situation as it existed at that time, which is July '64.
July '64.
You could see things were starting to heat up a bit.
So as I check, and here again, folks, this book, a lot of chronology in this book. As I look in here in 1964, I go to August 2nd.
August 2nd.
Of 1964, a very famous day in the history of Vietnam. The ship, the USS Mattocks, not to be confused with Lynn Mattocks, USS Mattocks, M-A-D-D-O-X. Tell me.
Well, I'm going to put it out the way I see it.
Okay.
And they say it was fired upon. I happened to be in the war room for 72 hours straight on the USS Mount McKinley, analyzing all the intelligence coming in and everything. And to this day, nobody's going to convince me that anything was ever fired at the USS Mattocks. And I'm saying this in the public right now because all those ships had their sonar, they had their radar, and there was no ships in the area that could have launched those torpedoes, and there was nothing ever actually reported. But that is what really got us neck deep in Vietnam, right there, the Tonkin Gulf resolution.
Right, which occurred on August 7th, proclaimed by President Johnson. 5 days later, the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. Porpoises, maybe?
I think porpoises, there's an old joke that's been going around the Marine Corps for years that a couple of young sailors sitting on the fantail didn't have anything else to do, and they saw the porpoises following them and decided we had a torpedo attack. And I'm not going to discount that either because anything could happen.
Hey, young sailors have imaginations, right? Yeah.
That's true.
Huh, interesting. What was their fate? Do we know who, did anything ever?
I don't know because everything after the Tonkin Gulf resolution came out, we mobilized.
Everything just started snowballing so fast.
Going so fast, I've felt that ever since that day.
Yeah.
Ever since August the 2nd of 1964, I have felt that way. Nobody's ever going to convince me different. You sit in the war room and you're getting every communication transmission, every report from every ship on their sonar, every report from every ship on their radar, every other ship out there with watches on the fantail and the bow.
Yeah.
And only one ship has that report. But there's no report of any explosions.
Yeah.
No?
Nothing, see?
No.
Dang.
Just stop and think about it a little bit. I've been thinking about it for all these years.
I don't know Navy, I don't know ships, but I know okay, so let's take the chain of command. These two kids see this. Where'd they go next with that report?
Probably to the officer of the deck.
Officer of the deck.
And the officer of the deck is generally a junior officer. And he would report it on up his chain of command, and it would be probably to the operations officer right away because they would have to sound general quarters and
Yeah.
all of that. And we'd get on up and you know, the chief's probably going to set them down and say, "Are you sure?" And all of a sudden they're shaking, you know, the old chief's got them and,
Yeah.
yes sir, we're sure, you know. I recall even General Davis, our commanding general, he was really explicit on find some verification of this, find the verification of it. You know, he's a great commanding general, and you know, if people don't know who I'm talking about, it's General Ray Davis, who was the Medal of Honor winner from the Chosin Reservoir in Korea.
Yeah, you had mentioned him earlier today, and you speak very highly of him, General Ray Davis.
And then we had Colonel Jerry Fink, who was the Chief of Staff / G2, and we just couldn't figure out where these supposedly torpedoes came from that was fired on the USS Mattocks.
Right.
But now we know what that caused.
We know the results. Be they real or not, be they dolphins or not, we got the Gulf of Tonkin resolution. And with that, we're going to take a break and be right back. All right, Lynn? Counterintelligence, Vietnam, Lynn Mattocks. One of your first major assignments was going in before the 9th Expeditionary Force hit the beach.
That's right.
Yeah, kind of scouted that out.
Went in there in July,
Yeah,
then went in again after the USS Mattocks incident.
right,
Went in probably about the middle of August.
right. What kind of activities were you involved with there?
Well, basically, I was sort of a community relations person,
Really?
trying to figure out how the Vietnamese people were going to accept us landing a large force over their beaches there, and also doing a lot of liaison with the intelligence agencies already in place there, the Vietnamese and some of the
Right.
U.S. intelligence agencies.
And this landing that was about to take place with the Marines, which was the 9th Expeditionary Force, this was the big one in early '65. Like you say, the first major ground force entry into the war.
First major combat unit,
And-
the 9th Marine Expeditionary Brigade.
Right, and it was being done in true Marine tradition. It was a beach landing.
That's right.
Yeah,
Full
yeah.
combat gear over the beach, and we had, I don't know how many young ladies there with flowers dressed to the hilt. I was behind them. I was part of the welcoming committee, and it was really fun to watch these young Marines come across in full combat gear, and these beautiful young ladies handing them flowers, you know.
Yeah.
And welcome aboard. So I guess the community relations was pretty good.
You must have really done your job, Lynn, because I mean, think about it. Here you are, you're a 19-year-old Marine on a landing craft, and they're going to tell you when that gate goes down, you're going to storm the beach of Vietnam. And, you know, if it was me, I'd be having, like, you know, visions of Normandy and Iwo Jima and all this. And there's Lynn in his public relations department. He's got the girls there with the flowers waiting for him. It's like, good job, Lynn, you know. But, yeah, no, that was a classic moment. So the Marines settled in. Then you got busy.
I went, the Marines came in, settled in, and I did nothing but for 2 years, but go to school. One school after another.
Right.
Then to Hawaii in '66, which was still going to school, completed my Vietnamese language course there.
Oh, you did, yeah.
And continued to school there, and they put me in a year of transition there to see if I was a self-starter, self-motivator and everything. '67, right back over to Vietnam again.
Right. See, you're a career Marine at this point. You're getting all this training, and you know you're going back.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Every school dictated where I
Every
was going.
school you were going to was just getting you ready to go back. Yeah. So now you're back again, counterintelligence, and late '67.
Late 67, yes.
And then right after late 67 comes early 68, and we all know it was heating up then.
Yeah, it's Tet Offensive.
The Tet Offensive, yep. Tell me about the Tet Offensive.
Well, Tet Offensive, I got to say this because it's true. We had a complete order of battle from the North Vietnamese invasion of Hue City. It came down through our intelligence channels, and no one believed us at the higher level.
Really?
Not until Da Nang, Hue, everybody got hit on Tet Offensive.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I was there to relieve a Marine warrant officer who was a liaison to the CIA office in Hue City. And Hue City was overrun, and unfortunately my counterpart was captured and later died in a POW camp. And I was fortunate that I'm sitting here today, so you know I was very fortunate.
Yeah.
And after Tet Offensive and the retake, I was in the retake of Hue City. In fact, I was in the lead element. Myself and about 5 or 6 of my Vietnamese people were with the lead platoon of the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines. Now, we know the 1st Marine Regiment is credited with retake of Hue City, but due to the losses in Operation Forward, just a week or 2 weeks before that, which I was also on, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines was ineffective, and so 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines were the lead element. And I was with the lead squad because I knew my way in and knew how to get there, and we was going to set up the headquarters at the soccer field over near the MACB compound. And so we went in, and after the retake of Hue City, then I was back in with the station there in Hue City, and we had lost all of the advisors to the police, National Police, Police Field Force, Special Police, the PRUs, and all of them. I ended up being advisor to all of the police segments, and which by virtue of that I became the number 2 man at the station in Hue City.
When you say number 2, we're talking involving all intelligence and counterintelligence.
Through the State Department, through CIA.
Right.
I was, and this way it put me in a level, even though I was just an E7 gunnery sergeant. I'd already been through quite a bit there, and I got automatically elevated up just by virtue of my position. I got elevated up to set in on all the major planning and everything with all the troops, 101st Airborne, 82nd Airborne, 1st Marine Division, 3rd Marine Division, even elements of the 4th Marine Division were over there then. The ARVN, the Vietnamese forces,
right.
We did area coverage. And like I say, I had all of these different units that I was responsible for as an advisor.
Right.
So, and by virtue of my position there at that time, I became the counterintelligence operations officer for a super secret little organization run by the Special Forces called Studies and Observation Group. It's declassified now. It took 20 years after the war before they declassified it.
Right.
I won't get into any of the operational details of it, but just by virtue of my position there, I get in that. So a lot of the things that I got involved in were unexpected. It was not planned. You know, no one ever expected me to be the number 2 man at a CIA station in Hue City.
No.
I never expected I would be with the lead element walking into Hue City for the retake of Hue City. That made me feel like I was back to my 0311 infantry position again.
Right.
And there were so many things that happened during this time that, you know, you just don't understand. On Operation Ford, we went into a hot LZ. 72 hours I couldn't move position from where I was at. I went from a counterintelligence gunnery sergeant in support to a company commander. When we come out of that operation, I had 17 people in my company. The reason I bring that up, that's why there was no 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines to go with the 1st Marine Regiment in Hue City.
To go to retake Hue, yeah.
So they pulled the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines.
Yeah.
And what's ironic, my neighbor down in the Winchester area, Jeff, he was the squad leader leading us in, and we both belong to the same Veterans of Foreign War in Winchester.
And you're just figuring this out?
No, we figured it out a few years ago.
Really?
Yeah, we got
Wow.
talking.
That's
It's
amazing.
a small world, isn't it?
It sure is. It sure is.
But that was probably one of the best experiences I ever had. I was able to sit down and help plan operations. We worked with the Vietnamese. We worked with the Army. We worked with the Marine Corps. We worked with the Navy for naval gunfire support in our operations. And it broadened my experience in the Marine Corps to no extent. And they couldn't send me to enough schools to get all this knowledge.
There you go. There you go.
And so I extended to stay there in my position. But I had been wounded on 16 September on an operation with the 2nd Brigade, 101st Airborne. And I refused evacuation, but I had got so much infection in the shrapnel wounds that I went down to about 114 pounds, 112 pounds.
Wow.
And they finally told me I had to get out, so they sent me back in February of '69. So I'd been there since '67 all the way through '69.
February '69.
But I was on a 6 months extension because I believed in what I was doing.
Yeah.
I wrote a letter home to my folks, and I didn't really expect it, but they handed it over to the newspaper in Yakima, Washington. And all I said in there, they said, extracted, I feel I'm doing the thing because I want these people to have the same freedoms and same rights that we have.
Right.
They so much want it and deserve it. Well, you know, one side did and the other side didn't. Unfortunately, the side that didn't want all them freedoms are the ones that's sitting over there in control now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just felt that it was a just cause.
We will be right back with Lynn Mattocks. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Lynn Mattocks, still hanging tough with us here. He isn't going anywhere. Tet Offensive, busy time for Mr. Mattocks. Some about Marines and ice cream. What, you mentioned ice cream, and this isn't our first Marine ice cream story we've had. So, okay, I'll turn it over to Lynn.
Well, after Tet Offensive, we'd retake set up in Hawaii City. I like to practice my Vietnamese, and we had a lot of students at the Hawaii City College there that liked to practice their English. And the perfect place was over at the ice cream parlor they'd opened up. And so I'd go over there, and all these pretty girls would be riding their bicycles in. And of course, I didn't look like a Marine. My hair was darker then, and I wore sunglasses, and I wore a tiger stripe uniform with a police beret, and everything. The only thing, if you knew Vietnamese, it said Co Ban Con Soc Doc Viet, which means advisor of Vietnamese Special Police. But we'd go over and I'd practice my Vietnamese and they would practice their English.
All right.
And we had this interaction, you know, and it was fun.
Right. And you're not a big guy either.
Oh no.
I mean, 6'5", Vietnamese is a rare sight, but so you fit right in.
I had a Honda 50 motorcycle that was provided from the station there, and I could ride up while the Perfume Bridge there over the Perfume River was blowing in one-way traffic. I'd be sitting there and they'd just start talking to me in Vietnamese, and I'd talk back to them in Vietnamese.
Right. These little trips to the ice cream shop occasionally as a very small counterintelligence gentleman that looks like a Vietnamese, did they ever result in any information?
Oh, and a few times we have some of the people who were very loyal to the South Vietnamese government, and once they found out who I was and what I was doing, they would volunteer information from their quarter of the city or from their village just outside the city, which they went home each evening. And for example, if the tax collector come through, or if they had a VC meeting or something that they found out about, or anything coming up, they would start just volunteering this information. They weren't any paid informants or anything, but it was just, it's just you get into the midst of it, and next thing you know, it just starts coming to you.
Yeah.
And that's one of the easiest ways to get intelligence.
Sure, sitting with pretty girls in an ice cream parlor, right?
Buying the ice cream, that's what.
Yeah. You know, and then there's the, you know, that's okay. That's the thing you can smile about and we can all joke about. But also in your line of work, you got involved in some operations that were pretty hairy at times. You know, I think you mentioned one with 101st Airborne.
Yeah, we made a trip in, that I didn't like, we made a trip into the Oshaw Valley. And we landed on a hilltop that had already been covered with Agent Orange. And I don't know why we landed there, but I guess it was the only place that was clear.
Right. Now, how would you say you were across the Laotian border at that point?
I believe we were probably right near the border.
Right near the border.
I was probably looking across the end of Laos.
Right. So that was that very northern corner of South Vietnam. The border it's almost a tri-country border with Laos, North Vietnam, and South Vietnam. And
Yeah, we were just a few miles. We had those operations. We had some other operations with the Vietnamese, joint operations, that were extremely successful. I think we pretty well broke the Viet Cong infrastructure for that particular region at the time.
Right. Good job.
That's also when I got wounded.
Was that your first Purple Heart?
Well, the first Purple Heart that I received, as far as getting a certificate, I had been wounded in '64, but I never received that one.
Why not?
It was unclassified orders, and the awards section of headquarters Marine Corps said I was in Okinawa, I wasn't in Vietnam. We didn't say we did.
I see. You weren't there. No. Lynn who? Lynn, this has been great, and you know what? You want to come back again?
Oh, I'd love to.
Why don't we get some dinner? And I know you got a long drive home, but we'll get one of our fine chauffeurs to take care of that. And I'd love to do another session with you.
Oh yeah, we got one more tour to go.
One more tour, all right. We'll see you then. This is 11 Bravo, Rick Seaman with Lynn Mattocks. We're coming back. See you then.